it's for your mother's grandfather.
Somewhere like that. Children, girls call her after the boys, boys after their mothers. Or something.
Okay.
Ready?
Go for it.
I look to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. If we could stand, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the June 18 meeting for the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair of the Board of County Commissioners, also representing District 2. Joining me today is Commissioner Bob Archer, representing District 3.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Shelley Bueller, representing District 1.
Good morning.
Good morning. Madam Clerk, I know we have a full agenda. If we could get started with the first item.
First item is consent agenda.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Archer to approve the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? That passes 3-0. I would note for the press and public, the Tiger Grant application is consent item 1-4, so, or item number 4. So, Madam Clerk, our next item.
And for new business, A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
The vouchers are totaling $998,469.54. Holding accounts and vehicles of the state makes up the majority of it. Okay, I'll start over. 527,000. I will just leave it at that. It's a Thursday morning, feels like a Monday morning. Detention facility, $231,814.28. And Parks and Recreation, $95,814.33. I have no questions. Move approval.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Bueller for approval of the vouchers.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll make a motion to approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed? It passes 3-0. Next item.
Item B, Department of Corrections, number 1, consider approval of request to fill one vacant custodian position at an annual salary, including benefits, of $31,149.26.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. This is a request to fill a vacant custodian position due to a recent resignation. That this is a very important job for us. A lot of our cleanliness sanitation goes along with the audits and our accreditations that for the mandates. Currently, we have had, our other custodial staff with the summer on vacations. This does make it very tough with us being down a position. We're using overtime. I'd like to stay away from overtime and to be able to fill this position. I have met with HR and everybody regarding this position in the past, and we do have the money in the budget for this amount, and I'd like to request your approval, please.
Are there any questions regarding this request?
Make a motion to approve.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Bueller for approval of the request.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? It passes 3-0. Next item.
Item B2, consider approval of request to fill one vacant social worker MSW position at an annual salary, including benefits of $46,736.87.
Good morning again. Brian Cole, Department of Corrections. This is a position, a very crucial life safety position that we are asking for approval to fill. We did have a social worker that was working with the facility. She did take a job with the local hospital for much more payment, and we have tried, in looking at our mental health program and our staffing, we tried to hold off a little bit in filling this position to see, get a good idea of what was going on and how we can enhance our service. We found out that we will be falling behind documentation, things like that if we don't get this position filled. I did meet with Jim Crowell on this position, specifically talking about, you know, our future with our mental health program. But this is one of those positions that there's a need right now. And we are looking very seriously at our mental health program and looking how we can enhance the good services we have now. But this is a position here that, well, it is mission critical, and it is vital to our safety. And that was the one thing that I talked to Jim about, was this is in a position that we can just wait to see what happens. We have seen an increase, the number of mentally ill people that have come to jail here recently, and the need is very high. And I think we all know the challenges of dealing with those with mental illness, and this position is very important to us. We do have the money in the budget to fulfill this financial position and this need and things like that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Brian, I note that on the request, on the second paragraph, it indicates that you would like to try to fill this first within the current Shawnee County employee
Yes.
roster. And what comes to mind is, with us going through the safety net process, as we look at how we define our efforts with health in Shawnee County, whether or not any of the employees with the Shawnee County Health Agency or Shawnee County Health Department may look at this as a transfer opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we do want to open those positions there. It is tough, you know, because we know that the local agencies have their need too, and I don't want to, I guess, in quotes, steal anybody from another county position, because I know how vital it is, but the selfish part of me, that we need this position filled. And I'll take any qualified person that we can to help us with our mission.
Okay. And I know that whenever the HR department has an internal position that gets posted out to the entire network, so to speak, are there any special efforts that are made maybe specifically to the health department or health agency so that they would see that there's a social worker position available?
I have not reached out to the health agency or any, you know, I will, but again, sometimes we all get a little territorial about our own positions, and I know that I lose a lot of staff to other county agencies, which I'm happy they stay in the county, but then I do go out and kick my tires when I have to lose somebody. But I do, I have not, it's not an intentional thing, but it will be posted. The HR department does an outstanding job of posting internal positions, and we do expect, and I will say that I have had people in the community who have either retired or who are very interested in our program and wanting to, if this position was to open. So, but I think it's important that you give county employees an opportunity first if they meet the minimum qualifications.
I think it's just, there's so much potential change that's occurring right now with the safety net as we go through that process.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions regarding this?
I'll move to approve the request.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to approve the request, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Next item.
Item B3, consider authorization and execution of contracts C 223-2015 through C 226-2015, memorandum of agreement with the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Jackson County Sheriff's Office, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and Osage County Sheriff's Office for the temporary housing of prisoners in the event of an emergency situation.
Good morning again, Brian Cole. These are agreements that we've had in place for several years that I have worked very closely with our emergency management. I've met with Dusty regarding this. This is one of the things that I think that makes corrections very special and very good work, to being able to work together with your adjacent counties and the counties and surrounding counties, should I say, regarding when we all run into emergency situations. We are going through accreditation. We are updating our COOP plans. We are updating, you know, everything, and I think that, you know, we've had, it was time just to go back and get some updated signatures from our commission, renewing our commitment with our surrounding counties. This is just for temporary housing. If anything was to go beyond 30 days, that we would start looking into fees if we were to hold somebody for, or if they held somebody for us. I still have several more out there, but we believe this is very good business because we know we've had emergencies, and I think if anybody recalls, I believe it was last year when we had the water main break that was a time that I truly thought we were going to have to relocate inmates. And having these plans in place, memorandums of agreements in place to be able to have those would have been, it's vital. So it doesn't cost us anything. You know, we work very well, and we tend to house more people than we send out. But this is a good way to do business.
Any questions regarding this item?
Move approval of the contracts.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller for approval of the contracts,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item C, facilities maintenance. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C 227-2015 with Davis Fence Company for the purchase of an automated gate system at the parking lot entrance of the new elections office for the sum of $7,976.48, funded by the Capital Outlay Fund.
Good morning, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. Bill Kroll had to be gone this morning for a medical situation, so I am stepping in to present these so that we didn't need to pull them from the agenda. The first one, as she read, is for a automated gate on the new elections building. This is something that a commissioner requested upon the tour of the building, and thinking or anticipating that this would be, you know, under $10,000, it went out for informal bids or quotes rather than the formal bid that's required over $10,000. One did come in under the $10,000. 2 of them actually came in over that amount. But the bid that he is recommending is with Davis Fence for $6,467.48. With that, there will be electrical work that will be required. So he is estimating $1,500 to be done by CD Electric for the total amount of the $7,976.48.
Are there any questions regarding this item? I might note that, you know, as we get this elections building complete, I think it's very important that we have everything at a spot to where we look at optimally maintaining the building, also the safety of our employees and safety of our equipment. The fence in question, the gate, there were issues potentially that would present themselves as a workers' compensation issue, given the weight of the gate, and this is just to maybe look at our employees and how we protect them, as well as our equipment. So, any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
So it was your idea?
Well, it was one of my suggestions. I don't know if it was just myself, but it was one thing that I had pointed out.
Well, and I think it's a good idea. And I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second. Motion made by Commissioner Archer for approval of the contract, seconded by Commissioner Cook.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Is that for the contract and the electrical work?
Contract and electrical work.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Next item.
Item C2, consider authorization and execution of contract C 228-2015 with Fremont Industries to provide water treatment supplies and services for courthouse HVAC equipment at an annual cost of $3,180.
I will try to explain this in layman's terms. So, right now, what we are doing is we are buying the supplies from this company, and then we just call them when we need repairs or if we need them to come in and do chemical testing, that kind of thing. Excuse me, I'm sorry. What this contract would do is we would just have a monthly fee. It would include the supplies and the testing that they would come in and do on a monthly basis. They would be testing the water that goes through the boilers, the chillers, and the cooling towers. The chemicals in that water, if it is at the correct levels, then it keeps the equipment cleaner. It doesn't cause corrosion and buildup and those types of things. The cost on this under the contract should be about the same as we are paying now. It should be pretty much a wash as far as cost, because if we have them do the service, we get a discount on the supplies. So the cost should be about the same, and it should extend the life and the efficiency of our equipment. So it is coming to you because even though it's $3,180 a year, it's coming to you because it's a contract.
Any questions regarding this contract? I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor say aye. All opposed, it passes 3-0. Thank you very much. Next item.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider request to negotiate an agreement with Wolf Construction for design build services for a sound wall at Old Prairie Town at Historic Ward Mead site.
Commissioners, this is a request to begin negotiating a contract with Wolf Construction. We solicited RFPs. We received the RFPs. We sent those to the Professional Services Selection Committee. Their recommendation was to continue to negotiate with Wolf Construction. If you have any questions about that, the two men leading this project, John Bell and Terry Bertles, are both here, could answer any other questions.
John, I might note that on the second page of the memorandum, it talks about the cost of the sound wall, and that this cost is actually being shared equally between Shawnee County and the foundation.
Yes, the Friends of Ward Mead have been saving money for several years and working to raise more money, and this has given them a new impetus. I think this is something that's at the beginning phases as opposed to, I see more good things to come in the future from this partnership.
And if anybody wonders why we might need a sound wall, we hope to see you out at the Ward Mead this Saturday for, I see John Bell nodding his head, get his plug in for wheat stock. So see exactly why the sound wall is a needed item at that facility. Are there any questions regarding this request to submit, go to, I guess, request for proposals?
Move approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller for approval,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Item D2, consider request to negotiate an agreement with Schmidtline and Excavating for design build services at Dornwood Ball Field renovations.
Commissioners, this is a very similar item, but for a different project. This is over at the Dornwood Sports Fields. We requested proposals, received them back. Professional Services Selection Committee recommended negotiating a contract with Schmidtline. We're asking for permission to do that.
I'll make, any questions regarding this item? Commissioner Archer.
How is this going to be funded, John?
Oh, I'm sorry. The projects listed on here today, outside of the sound wall, which was had a component of private dollars, were all listed in the certificates of participation, whether specifically called out or under the miscellaneous item.
So the funding for these ballpark upgrades is in the same mix as the proposed aquatic center at
It is.
21st and Urish and the splash pad at Dornwood.
It is.
Okay, so they're all together. Okay,
And-
thank you.
And the jail kitchen.
And the jail kitchen.
So,
Okay.
Question.
yes, Commissioner Bueller.
John, are Stormwood Ball Association helping with any of these improvements?
They're part of the planning process. That ball association has a slightly different mission than some of the other ones. For instance, our policies and procedures with those are no kid is left who wants to participate can't participate if it's for financial reasons. So they're in a little bit different situation, but yes, there's a Friends of Dornwood, and they're trying to do all the type of things they can to raise as many funds as they can to help support this.
And Commissioner Bueller, I might note that the Friends of Dornwood, some of the projects that they do in that endeavor are they have Operation Recatch. So if anybody has unused or slightly used baseball equipment, softball equipment, they can donate that. They make sure it gets to the kids that are not able to. They also have work days out at Dornwood that they work on the fields and getting things ready and making sure that everything is ready to go for, and just really work to make sure that it looks at its best and optimal.
Mm-hmm.
There's some good, strong partnerships in that
Very,
area.
very strong partnership there as well.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to negotiate with Schmidtline Excavating.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Next item.
Item D3, consider request to negotiate the contract with professional engineering consultants for design services for Lake Shawnee spillway repairs.
Commissioners, this is a very similar item to the first two. I'll say that the difference here is when we solicited RFPs for this project, we thought it would be a real quick project and that the contractors could have ready access to the spillway areas to get in there with their equipment and everything. But no sooner did I leave the courthouse with your approval. I don't believe it has quit raining since we got that approval, so we'll have to work around a completely full spillway at this time. But this is a project that's needed to be done for a while now, and the professional selection committee recommended that we negotiate a contract with PEC, and that's what's before you this morning.
John, given the rain and everything, is this a project that is best waiting until maybe the lake comes down a little bit and starting it then? Or?
I would recommend that we negotiate the contract with them. They're well aware of the weather conditions and the ground conditions. There are some things, we'll come back to you with a contract, so this isn't, they won't be starting construction on this, but we'll work with, they'll be aware of those conditions and do what they can before, and then they'll be on contract to do the rest of the project when weather permitting. But it's a dam safety DAM safety inspection and issue, and it's something that we need to get on as soon as we can.
There are other questions regarding this item. I'll make a motion for approval of the
Second.
request.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Item D4, consider authorization and execution of contract C-229-2015 with BA Green Construction for the design build of an aquatic park and splash pad near 21st and Urish Road, and a new aquatic feature at Dornwood Robinson Family Park at a fee of 4.5% of the construction costs, and will allow BA Green to initiate the design work necessary to develop a guaranteed maximum price for the projects, who will return to the Board of Commissioners, County Commissioners, with design options and a guaranteed maximum price.
Commissioners, this is very similar to the first three, except we're a step further down the road with this. This is the actual contract that sets BA Green as the design builder for this project, allows them to begin design and start to work on some of the project there. It sets their fee at 4.5%. What will happen is we'll, if I get your approval this morning, we'll go back and begin design of the project, come back before the commissioners and show them some of the design things, and he'll, at that time, we'll set a guaranteed maximum price. Be happy to answer any other questions, and this is part of the same COP that we talked about earlier.
Are there any questions regarding this item? Commissioner Archer.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to make a motion to approve. I'll wholeheartedly make that motion. I've been an advocate for the master plan implementation of Parks and Rec. I've been an advocate for the Aquatic Center at 21st and Urish, and I've been an advocate for Dornwood Park. I think Dornwood is a gem in our community. It's a gem in an area that needs a gem and deserves a gem of a unit, and I'm glad we're going to do this enhancement to Dornwood Park. So I'll, again, make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second, and I might note that with the development along California Avenue, with the new Walmart, with the renovations to Dillon's, with the looking at the housing that in the residents that live around Dornwood, this is a splash pad that is very much needed, providing the neighborhoods a recreational component that is just missing, and it also enhances, and although he didn't say it, it's within the master plan. And so I might note that on the contract there is a timeline looking at this being completed by May of 2016. And so just to kind of let people know where our timelines fall. But there's been a motion by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Further comments, Commissioner Bueller?
I am not opposed to the construction at Dornwood, but I will be abstaining from this vote. I believe the timeliness of building this pool, I've looked at your budget briefly, John, there are a lot of deferred items that need attention, and so that's the reason I am in support of the Dornwood, but since they're together, I will be abstaining.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, it passes 2-1 with one abstain. Next item.
Item D5, consider approval of request to negotiate a contract with Yamaha Motor Corporation for rental and maintenance of golf carts.
Commissioners, before I talk about that item, I just want to extend to you I intend to work with Brian Cole and also the health agency for some mental health counseling. I think after those 4 big projects that we're getting ready to tackle here, I think the guys sitting here in the back of the room are going to need some of those services. So as this item is several years ago, we signed a 5-year lease with Yamaha to supply golf carts to our golf courses. The contract allowed for us, after 3 years, to renegotiate and see if we could get a better term. I'll tell you, in the industry, we like to have 3-year or newer carts, because that's at about the time that we begin to pay more on maintenance and upkeep on those carts, and it's also an image thing. But this item is just a request to sit down with Yamaha and see if we, because the contract allowed it, sit down and renegotiate a contract with Yamaha. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
John, it's you update the commission regularly regarding your expenditures now that we have golf services as a separate item to where you can look at your revenue and expenses. This is one of those items on the expense side that we would look at, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, this would be an expense that would be in our revolving fund.
Any other questions regarding this item?
I will say I had tremendous timing on that, not only on the construction of the dam spillway, but once we put that into a complete, not enterprise, but revolving type fund, we've had 4 days and it hasn't rained at our golf courses. But we still are doing good, so I'll include Carrie in those mental health services.
Move for approval.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller for approval. Seconded, I'll second. Seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Next item.
Item D6, consider authorization and execution of contract C-230-2015 with TARC, Inc. for the operation of the 2015 Winter Wonderland event held at Lake Shawnee at a cost to the county of $1,566, with the revenue to the Parks and Recreation Foundation of 12% of the total, not to exceed $16,500.
Commissioners, this is a special use of our park contract, one of the big special events that we do and have done for many years. We work with TARC. It is one of, if not their biggest fundraiser. They and our foundation have a tremendous amount of volunteer support to make that program operate. That's what this contract does, is set out the terms for the Winter Wonderland. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have. Sean Osborne from our department is here too if you have any specific questions that I can't answer.
Any questions regarding this item? Commissioner Archer.
I'd just like to say thank you for taking this effort on. It's a great fundraiser, and I would make a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer to approve the contract, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, it passes 3-0. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Noting you only said master plan one time.
And we said it once too, I think.
Next item.
Item E, Emergency Management. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-231-2015 with North Central Regional Planning Commission for the transfer of a laptop.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dusty Nichols, Interim Director, Shawnee County Emergency Management. In front of you is just the contract. It's typical of what we've done in the past with this kind of equipment. It's regional assets. Shawnee County would maintain control of it, take care of it, make sure it's updated, that kind of thing. And then should it be needed regionally, then we deploy it and use it. This specific laptop is for our accountability, so checking people in, checking people out of disaster scenes. But we also use the equipment here to make our badges for Shawnee County as well. Got any questions?
Questions regarding this request for a transfer of a laptop? I'll make a motion to approve the request to receive the laptop from the North Central Regional Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you very much. Next item.
Item F, Human Resources. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-232-2015 with CBiz for a compensation study for Shawnee County at a cost of $63,400.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Crowley, Interim Human Resources Director. This item requests approval of the contract for CBiz. If you approve this contract, we will be moving forward with the project at this time. The project cost is $63,400. As bidded, the addendum to the contract sets out a good outline of the process that will be followed through the study. We are still hoping to have the study results completed by August 1st. And I'll be happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
Jim, when this item was before us previously, we talked about looking at whether or not we could add the elected officials to this as well. And are we able to?
Yes.
And we also were looking at whether or not benefits could be added into this as well.
Yeah, we did receive an optional proposal for benefits, and my understanding was that we did not want to go forward with that option.
All right.
And so that is not included in this contract.
I just bring those things back up since we had addressed those previously at the last commission.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions regarding this item? Commissioner Archer.
All right, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And one other item that we had talked about was an analysis of our force levels, and I wanted to know where that stands, Jim.
Following our last meeting, I did have set up a conference call with the CBiz team that will be doing the compensation study. Indicated what you were asking for in terms of the terminology they use is comparative staffing analysis, but as far as I can tell, that's the same type of analysis when they explained to me the methodology that they would use. It sounds like they can provide that to us, that there are efficiencies to doing that as part of the compensation survey portion of it, and they are providing a proposal to me by the end of the week that will outline what those services would be and what the cost would be. And if we choose to do that, what I'll do is I'll bring that back as an additional addendum to this contract, hopefully next week. If I get it by tomorrow, I'll put it on Monday for next Thursday.
Commissioner Archer?
Well, and that's fine. I just think it's important that we take a look at that aspect of our HR. And I know, for example, that when the city of Topeka did their resource allocation study, it was an eye-opener for our community. And I think it's important that we assure taxpayers that not only are we addressing compensation issues, but that we're right-sized to provide service to our community. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Bueller, any questions?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with CBiz for a compensation study for Shawnee County.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item.
Item G, Information Technology. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-233-2015 with Alexander Open Systems, Inc. for the support of the EMC storage area network arrays at a cost of $25,806.71.
Morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blander with the Information Technology Office. This contract is for a renewal of maintenance on the storage area networks, which are cabinets that contain spinning hard drives that a lot of our miscellaneous servers use to store their data on. Some of these arrays are becoming quite old. This is probably the next to the last time we'll be asking for a renewal on this particular set of cabinets. We will be moving most of what's stored on these to the virtualization platform over time. We will still have to have some servers that don't go to the virtualization platform, but we'll be retiring these eventually in favor of some individual boxes that we'll be talking about during the summer when we talk about our budget for 2016. But if you have any questions about these, I'd be happy to answer those at this point.
Questions? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll make a motion to approve the contract, but I think it might be a good idea for a process check and an update on the virtualization project that we're doing. Just give us a process check so we'll know what steps we've made and what is left to be done. If you would do that, I would appreciate that if you would schedule that, Mr. Chair. So, and a motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Archer, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, it passes 3-0. And then Pat will find a time to have you come and make a presentation, just to kind of update. And I think that's a good thing as we complete some of these large projects and work on these large projects. For example, we have regular updates regarding how things are progressing with Willard Bridge. John has made his master plan presentation, working with the safety net and also with virtualization. This is a really exciting time for Shawnee County that we have a lot of big projects that have been accomplished and are in the process of being accomplished. So it's good to update our public and our departments as where we stand. So.
Yes, I concur. I'd be happy to put that together and present that to the commission. We have had a lot of success with that platform, and it has been a real asset for Shawnee County. So I'll be happy to put that together and get that in front of you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pat.
Commissioners.
Next item.
Item H, County Councilor, number 1, legislative update.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Eckert, County Councilor. I know you're all very excited to talk about the tax lid, but I'd like to start with something else first, and that is a reminder that our spring canvass that we recently did was probably the last one. Our elections, our local elections, are now moving to the fall. However, they are moving in the odd-numbered year, so the fear of all the election commissioners and county clerks that our elections would now be super huge, at least has been alleviated, but we will be having fall elections now in odd years. The other thing that they changed about elections is how you take your name off of a ballot once you've been put on. It was a little bit unclear, and of course we had a recent case that we followed quite closely, but now we have clarity how you can take your name off the ballot. The first one is to die. I generally do not recommend that. The second one is if you move out of state, and the third one is there's a medical hardship to either the candidate or someone in their immediate family. So those are the modifications that have been made to elections law. Now, with respect to the tax lid, I've been doing a lot of study on this, and a lot of people who work with this stuff a lot more than I do all say the same thing. They don't know how it's going to work. So if I stand up here and tell you that I know how it's going to work, don't believe me. There are some difficulties with this, and most of them are caused by one simple fact. This never had a hearing. This was never vetted. This didn't go through the principals who have to work with this. This came up at the last minute and got shoved down our throats. There was literally nothing that we could do. And when that happens, we're going to find problems. And sure enough, there are problems. I'm going to navigate to my screen. One of them, and first of all, let me explain how this works so we can all understand it. If your property tax base, a county's property tax base, increases, let's say it increases by 2%, but the CPI only increases 1%, then we have to lower our mill levy so that we collect 1%. Okay? Well, there are multiple things to say about this, but the one that kind of stuck out to me is that CPI, Consumer Price Index, and for this purposes they've picked urban United States. That's a consumer. That's us in our private life. Well, what percentage does that consumer spend on concrete, asphalt, and diesel fuel in a given year? And then compare that to what we spend on asphalt, concrete, and diesel fuel in a given year. That's just something that jumps out off the top of my head. And it doesn't really also account for things like if you wanted to consolidate a city and a county, if you wanted to consolidate a service, and all you have to do is look at our Parks and Rec department. We have a 5-year plan where the city provides funding to us, but that funding decreases $1 million a year for 5 years. How does that play into the CPI? Well, if the CPI is not moving, if there's no inflation, we're going to have 5 elections to effectuate that consolidation, the way we set it up. In other words, how we did our last consolidation, we might not be able to do that again. If we decide to consolidate sheriff and police, for instance, a much bigger consolidation in terms of pure money. If we graduate it out over years, we'll probably have to have multiple elections. The elections, let's start there. The appraiser tells us what our assessed value is, and again, when the appraiser tells us that, it's their best guess on July 1. But that number still moves, even after July 1. Well, by the time we have to figure out where our budget is and set that budget, and then get notice to the election commissioner, and this is the big thing, how you get notice to a ballot question, you can't do it by the first Tuesday after the first Monday in August. Can't be done. But our budgets are due August 25th, which is quite a bit before the November election. So it looks like it's a tax lid with actually no relief in terms of putting it on as an election. So that's going to have to be dealt with, or if the legislature simply ignores it, it's a hard tax lid with no relief.
Rich, just a question. I'll note by saying constitutional law is not my area of expertise. It's not the area of law that I specialize in any shape or form. But isn't there some provision about where a law is impossible to comply with, that it then becomes inherently flawed?
Well, yes, sir, you're correct, and that's one of the things that we're looking at. And when I say we, I'm really talking about the League of Municipalities and the Kansas Association of Counties.
So would you anticipate that potentially there could be a lawsuit by a group of individuals or county that say this is a impossibility? If you look at when the appraiser's notice comes out, when budgets are due, the timing of an election, it is statutorily impossible to comply with this law, thereby making it unconstitutional.
Oh, I agree that that's a real issue. And it's going to be a while before we can formulate that, but we are looking at that, and we'll continue to look at that. Part of the problem is you're going to have to sue the Kansas legislature. Someone's going to have to step up and do that. And just as an example, the judiciary has sued over the rule that the state Supreme Court can no longer select a chief judge. So they filed a lawsuit. Well, what happened next? When they approved the emergency budget for judiciary, they put a little rider on there that says that if they lose that lawsuit, all funding is pulled from the Kansas judiciary. So we have to be careful with what we consider our remedies to be.
So
You can win a lawsuit, but lose the war.
at the same time, there are litigation costs. If a county was to embark upon, or a group or organization was to embark upon a lawsuit against the state of Kansas that this is an unconstitutional law, there's litigation costs in defending that and in taking that forward. And so
Correct.
whoever's doing it is in for the long haul.
Well, and furthermore, the league and KAC don't necessarily have a litigation budget. So if that's the way they go or recommend, they're going to be looking for a county and a city, because I imagine in this instance you would want several plaintiffs to step forward and shoulder those costs. So that might very well be an issue that comes back to you at some point in time. I do want to point out one other thing. The state legislature, of course, also has a property mill levy. They assess 15 mills, which goes to education. Guess what they did? They exempted themselves from the tax lid. So this does not apply to the Kansas legislature. Now there are some exceptions, and again, this gets into the part of we don't quite know how it's going to work. But a resolution to go to an election if the increase in property is levied greater than the change in CPI because, and then they list out several things, costs for new infrastructure. Well, that's all that tells us. Is that everything that we asphalt? Is that our routine maintenance? Is it replacement of a bridge? Is it a new bridge, new road? I don't know the answer to those questions. improvements to existing infrastructure to support new improvements to property exempt from property tax. I'd not write that. Here's another one. Or exempt additions to or improvements to property so exempt. I'm not going to tell you I absolutely know what that means. Bond and interest payments. Increase in property that is subject to tax after expiration of an abatement. So in other words, when the Home Depot warehouse comes back on our tax roll, it doesn't hurt us. Increases in road construction costs when the construction has been approved by a resolution of the city or county. Special assessments. Judgments levied against the city or county or legal expenses for the defense of legal actions against the city or county or its officers. So does our special liability fund not count? I would say that according to that language, it does. New expenditures that are mandates by federal or state law. And increase in property subject to tax because of new construction. And that's a pretty big one. But when I read through those, something that occurs to me, though, is that pretty much all money is fungible. So do we start at the previous year's budget, take every single one of those categories, add that in, and then look at the CPI? Seems reasonable to me, but there's no clarification, there's no direction on how to do that. So those are some of the things that we'll keep working on.
Anything else?
I could go on.
Please don't.
So to sum up, unclear,
Yeah.
clarity unlikely.
Rich, I mean, obviously, either through litigation or clarification, maybe a legislative change or fine tuning, we're in a limbo at this present point. So we're about to embark upon, obviously this takes effect, when does the law take effect?
That's a great question. I meant to cover that because let me read this to you. There is also uncertainty about when the lid goes into effect. It was originally set to start in 2018, and if you had asked me, that's what I would have answered before I read this. But the trailer bill, the bill that actually came, it was a trailer bill, but it came first, approved by the legislature, indicates that the lid begins July 1 of this year. The two bills are in conflict with one another. So the answer to your question is, I don't know.
So, with that being placed before us, if Shawnee County was to have a mill levy increase that exceeds the consumer price index, what then?
You have to get that on the ballot in August. It's total valuation.
Total valuation?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we don't?
We would be subject to a citizen lawsuit. I believe how this would work out is a taxpayer of Shawnee County would have standing to file that lawsuit.
So, more likely than not, coming to a courtroom near you.
Yeah. And I just want to throw one more thing out. This is, we call it a tax lid, but it's also, the other acronym is TABOR. It's the Bill of Rights for Taxpayers is what that stands for, Taxpayer Bill of Rights. There's one state that has that, and it's Colorado. However, in Colorado, it also applies to the state legislature. And I got this from Wikipedia, so you know it must be true. Their funding on roads, they have dropped to 45th in the country on their infrastructure, and they cite TABOR as the reason why. So it seems to take its worst out on our infrastructure.
Commissioners, questions, comments? All right. Well, Rich, thank you for bringing all that joyful news to us.
Well, you know, and on top of that, though, I think there was quite a bit of discussion at the conversation on poverty about the impact of homes like the villages and those types of things that are being phased out, the impact that that'll have on our local jail and school districts, again, forcing more demands on local taxpayers. It's not a good day.
I agree. You also have to look at the impact of a sales tax on the citizens. With
Exactly.
There are some communities in Kansas that will be at a 10%. And at what point can the consumer continue to pay those? And those, I think, are issues that legislature needs to really take a close look at. Instead of waiting to the last minute without really going back to when we don't have things properly vetted, when things are done on the fly, things may not be as clear as we intend them to be. They may not have the full impact that we know. And so I know that in the local level, that's why we try to plan things out far in advance.
I like statistics, so here's a one. They can calculate how much money that raise in the sales tax is going to generate. Over 1/4 of that will come from Johnson County alone.
And how long has it been since cities and counties received demand transfers from the legislature?
Well, yeah,
I mean, that was put in place, and we have not received those dollars since, what, 2006?
2 days ago, CJ had a story on this tax lid, and in the comments, there was a raging dispute between the pro-tax lid person and the rest of the commenters. And I think the stat that they used is that in the last 20 years, the county's mill levies have gone up 124%. But what they ignore and refuse to acknowledge, and they do this at the legislature too, they refuse to acknowledge that in 2008, all personal property, new personal property was exempted. And that wasn't just Republicans, by the way. That was signed by Governor Sebelius. That was a joint decision. But all new personal property has been exempt since 2008. Demand transfers stopped around 2003, 2004. And LATVRs, which was a money transfer specifically designed to lower ad valorem property tax, also stopped. And with the help of County Clerk Beck, last year we sat down and looked at that, and since the mid-2000s, Shawnee County lost somewhere about $30 million between those three things.
KC did an excellent study on that too in one of their publications, and the impact to the rest of the state of Kansas as well.
So they want to talk about our mill levy increase, but they don't want to talk about how the state has pulled funding out from underneath us. And you have to numerically account for that when you look at mill levies. Almost 70% of our revenue comes from mill levies. I would suspect that all counties are like that. Cities, it generally, depending on what they are, because cities have much greater finance powers than we do. They have franchise fees that we don't have. And they have sales tax that works differently than our sales tax. We can't put our sales tax in the general fund. We have to spend it on what is on the sales tax ballot question. And in our situation, and this is different county to county, if we do have a sales tax, the first 54% of it goes to City Hall. So we're just not funded the same. So when a tax lid attacks mill levies, and that's what it is, it's attacking mill levies, it affects counties a lot more than it does cities.
Thank you, Rich. Commissioner Archer?
Well, I just wanted to make sure that the clerk got your sigh on the record.
Yes.
And I join you in that sigh.
With that joyful news, I think we're ready for the next item. Hopefully, Betty can exceed Richard's presentation. Next item.
Item I, Audit Finance, number 1, update on expenditures and revenues.
Okay, good morning. I will give you the financial overview for May 31st of 2015. I'll, as always, start out by saying this is our snapshot as of May 31st. I'll start out by looking at our year-to-date revenues. And this is our total revenue into the general fund. All of these is just just the accounting for the general fund of the county. Our year-to-date revenue is $50,244,653 compared to our budget of $50,275,536. So you can see we are right on budget on our revenues. That's a $30,000 difference. So we are right on budget. If you look at it compared to last year, our last year at this at May 31st, we had revenue of $51,159,005, and that is $914,000 difference. So if I kind of go through that a little, just the big items on that, that makes up is really made up of two items. One is the Parks and Rec merger. We receive $1 million less on that each year. So, and we receive that in two increments or two installments. So, part of that $900,000 is the $500,000 less that we've received on Parks and Rec. Another one, last year we had received money on defeasance that was about $500,000 at this point in time of the year also. So that's where that difference from the prior year to this year is. You can also see the different categories here that, and I'll go into each category in detail, but you can really tell here, as Rich talked, the primary source of our revenue is property taxes. That's here in the blue. Then we have other taxes here. That would be motor vehicle taxes and such. Then the green is property-related fees. The purple is charges for services, and then the top one is miscellaneous revenue. Our next chart is for property tax revenue. Now, we did not have a distribution in May, so this has not changed from the prior year, or prior month. But you can see year-to-date, we have received $41,472,000 in property taxes. We will have another distribution in June, which will be the distribution for our second half taxes. So we will have a significant increase in property taxes for our June financial update. Our next category is other tax revenue. This, again, we did not have a distribution, so this is remaining the same also as last month. And we've received $3,159,172. You can see that is also right on budget. The next category is property-related fees. We've received $991,852. Our budget was $1,060,995, and so we are $69,000 under budget in this category. If you'll remember, this is the category where we have our mortgage registration fees. That's something that the legislature changed on us, and they changed it from a percentage to a per page fee, and on a and it's going into effect over a number of years. We had estimated that we would lose about $500,000 on that each year as that's implemented. You can see our prior year income on this was $1,242,000. That is $250,000 difference. We had, received $250,000 more last year at this time. So there again, I mean, this is through May. So I think our estimate of losing $500,000 for mortgage registration was probably pretty close. So I think that's where most of our difference is. And there again, if you'll remember right, last month we were a little ahead in this category. Excuse me, we're ahead of budget. This time we're below budget. This is something that, it depends on when those mortgages are filed. So it can really vary between month to month. Over the term of the year, that all levels out and is pretty much the same. But like I say, you can really see how that has decreased our revenue in this category this year. The next is charges for services. This is, we've received $1,869,000. We're budgeted $2,119,000. The two areas in that are under budget our Parks and Rec by $129,000 and the Sheriff's Office by $64,000. And there again, these, when we budget for these, it's an estimate based on prior years, so it's a, it's our best guess that we can come up with. But I believe John mentioned to me that there has been, and I think he said this morning, there's been 4 days in May that it did not rain. So, that doesn't mean that they will not make up ground later on in the summer, but for right now, they are below their budgeted revenue. They are also below their budgeted expenditures, too. So that's, as we get to that point.
Betty, is there any, sorry to interrupt, but is there any impact with John's golf turning into a revolving account and how we record this?
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. So very good segue, thank you. If you look at the prior year of $2,628,000, we are down from last year, and a lot of that is from golf because we have moved out the revenue and the expenses of the golf for the 2 courses, Cypress Ridge and Lake Shawnee. Of course, the Forbes golf, the expenses stay in the general fund. The revenue cannot go into the general fund because that is from federal land. But so probably at least around $500,000 of this revenue difference is from that golf that has been transferred to that revolving fund. Okay. Other revenue. We have received $2,751,433. Our budget was $2,764,000. There again, that is within $12,000, so we are right on budget in that. Our prior year at this point in time, we had received $3,779,000. That's what we talked about earlier, is from the Parks and Rec merger and the defeasance revenue that we had last year that we don't have this year. Okay, this is just a pie chart that kind of shows you where our revenue comes from. You can see through May 31st, 83% of our revenue has come from property taxes, 6% from other taxes, 2% from property-related fees, 4% from charges for services, and then 5% from miscellaneous revenue. So, do you have any questions on the revenue side?
No.
Okay, let's go on to the expenditure side. This is a chart showing our total expenditures year to date as of May 31st. We have spent $36,458,047. Our budget for that time period was $37,363,582. At this point in time, and this is the total, and like I say, we will go into each category separately, but at this point in time, we are $905,000 under budget on expenditures. Just to give you the largest categories on that, the Sheriff's Department is under budget by $363,000. The courts are under budget by $103,000, and Parks and Rec is under budget by $365,000. So those are just the major ones. Now that does not mean that will not, as I said, sometimes if expenditures come in, a little differently than they did last year, this month may be low, next year would make up for it. So some of that may, wash out as we go through the rest of the year. This just shows the different categories, and the blue here on the bottom is public safety. You can tell that's the largest category. Red is public health, then administrative services, public works, parks and recreation, and debt service. So we go into our first category is public safety. We have spent $16,478,633 compared to our budget of $16,890,000. That's where I was talking about. We are $412,000 under budget. That is mostly with the Sheriff's Office and the courts. You can see we are very much on track with what we had spent last year in this category, just a little bit higher, 130,000 higher. Public health, we have spent $4,835,000 compared to our budget of $4,814,000. So there again, we're just right on budget with that. Administrative services, we spent $4,885,000 compared to our budget of $4,938,000. There again, this is $53,000 variance, so there again, just pretty much right on budget. Public Works, we have spent $3,544,064 compared to $3,607,530. So we are right on budget on Public Works also, and it's very much in line with what we spent last year. This is through May, so Public Works will, ramp up a little bit with the summer months coming. The next one is Parks, Recreation, and Expo Center. We spent $5,575,421 compared to our budget of $5,973,000. This is where you can tell that Parks and Rec was under budget. We are under budget for $397,000, and $365,000 of that is Parks and Rec that they are under budget so far. If you look there again, if you look at last year's number, that last year's number includes the golf. So that's where we're looking at that. Okay, and then the last one is the debt service. There's been no change in this because we have our debt service payments in February and August. We have spent $1,138,829 in debt service. That is, as I had said before, $153,000 less than last year. Okay, this chart just shows the different categories. It shows the budget and the prior year in each category. You can tell by this how much more we spend in public safety than the other categories. I will point out a couple things. The debt service is obviously the lowest category. Now this is just the interest that was paid for the first half of the year. So this category will go up in August when we pay our second half of our interest and our principal payment. I usually also point out that our Public Works is a category that's pretty low, and just to remind you that that is low because of our half-cent sales tax and all of the projects that are spent through that. If it were not for that, then this Public Works would have to be much higher. This is just another way of showing that same information in a pie chart. This shows that 45% of our expenditures are from public safety or go towards public safety. Public health is 13%, administrative services 14%, Public Works 10%, Parks and Rec is 15%, and debt service is 3%. Oh, any questions you might have?
Betty, the reason for the difference between the sheriff's budget and the sheriff's expenditures, does that relate to the number of officers that we have that we're trying to hire on?
I think there's quite a few different, I don't think, in talking with their office, it's not one item.
Okay.
It's multiple items. That's probably part of it. Another item is that they have to budget so much for health because they don't know when they will, if and when they will need that throughout the year. That is something that they had to budget for under the new laws that changed, I believe, last year. They have not had to use that this year, but it is in their budget. So, I think it's not one thing, it's a series of things.
Okay. Other questions regarding this report? All right. Thank you very much, Betty. And clerk, our next item.
Item J, Commission Number 1, reflect appointment by Commissioner Archer of Troy Showalter to the Civil Service Board representing District 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank Mr. Showalter's commitment to serving on the Civil Service Board. And I also want to recognize and thank John Lamb, who previously had the position on Civil Service Board. I spoke to John, and he's moving to Mesquite, Nevada. I did want to recognize Mr. Lamb and thank him very much for his service under difficult circumstances in some cases. So,
Absolutely.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So we will reflect the appointment of Mr. Showalter to the Civil Service Board. Next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications. Number 1, notification of a mutual aid request from Pottawatomie County from Emergency Management.
Morning, Commissioners. Dusty Nichols, Emergency Management again. I just wanted to take a moment and kind of showcase some of the stuff we're doing in emergency management, not just locally but regionally. Within the Homeland Security regions of the state, we belong to the Northeast Regional Council. And under that, it's a council representative of most of the counties in the region. And we do a needs assessment, and we decide with grant money what equipment items we're going to purchase. And certain items go to certain counties depending on the needs. So one of the things, as in earlier, we talked about the laptop computer that we just received. A couple other items that we've had in the past is the comfort trailer, prime mover, which is a vehicle that pulls the trailer, and that's supporting first responders, an accountability system, which that computer was a part of, and the incident management teams. The Northeast region gets position-specific training, and that's grant-funded, that training. Makes a specialist in certain categories of disaster response. When we accept those equipment items and this training, it's an understanding and a contract, if you will, that if these items are needed throughout the region, they get requested, and the mutual aid support comes that direction. We've used the mutual aid in support of the Spirit of Kansas Festival last year. We put out a request this year for light units for public safety for our officers on the streets, those kinds of things. We got a request from the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office, specifically Sheriff Riot, and under Sheriff Shane Yeager, requesting a comfort trailer, the accountability people, the equipment and the people to run that, and then a qualified incident event management, a planning section chief, and the action planning software. So that's what this mutual aid request is for, and it's specifically in support of the law enforcement, the public safety piece of keeping the people at the Stampede safe. The Country Stampede, well-known event at Tuttle Creek State Park near Manhattan. But the big piece of this is not about the concert itself. It's more about the population increase from 40,000 in one day up to 100,000 people, spontaneous population. So that requires a little bit more public safety assets on ground. So what we're going to do is go down and track the accountability for those assets to make sure they're not lost, broken, stolen, those kinds of things. Make sure everybody's safe, and then make sure the assets are returned where they need to go when it's over. We have the comfort trailer and the prime mover. We deliver it there, maintain it, run it. They pay for the fuel and all the stuff that's there that they're going to use, and then we bring it back, make sure it's clean, and it's in our possession, as always. But I just want to highlight this is a mutual aid, multi-jurisdictional, multi-agency, meaning fire, police, law enforcement from all over, not just the two counties, but they bring in volunteers from Riley County. I think we even had some Miami County people coming to volunteer for this one. So, and in the past, just kind of another addition, it's been Shawnee County that singly did the accountability piece, and we set the standard, quite literally, for how accountability is done in Kansas. And so this year we are bringing in some additional people from other counties to support that and learn the process that we've set using the software that was purchased, but our methodologies that we've built over the past couple of years is being used for this. And this is why we keep getting requested for this event. But we are now sharing the knowledge, so we can spread the wealth, if you will. So, but I just want to take a moment and highlight that. If you have any questions.
Dusty, just a couple briefly. I know that in the past I've been asked why do we allow our emergency management to go down to the Stampede? It sounds like it's just going down to have fun. So,
well, if you can't have fun doing your job, I don't know what to tell you. But, we have a lot of fun doing our job. But as far as the concert goes, we don't pick the venues. This is a spontaneous population increase, which does demand that public safety is included in that. Now that's a concert. Of course, you can hear the music. It's loud and, you know, you're in earshot. But as far as tooling around and having fun, that's not what we're down there for. In fact, we have specific missions that we're there to do, and we will give an after-action report. And this year is a little bit different. We, just to kind of put a note in, coming up in the next couple of weeks, hopefully we get to showcase our virtual EOC. And if it works the way I think it will, I'll be able to literally show you the operation that's going on down there on that TV right there.
Okay. The second question I had, it's been asked, if all of our staff is down at the Country Stampede, what happens if there's an emergency in Shawnee County?
Well, two things I can say to that. One, all of our staff isn't down there. We send specific people for the specific job based on that quest. The other part is we're planners. So we have that built in our plan. If we do send people, we have backup systems. And the mutual aid is still there, and priority is still there. Priority is our county. Sometimes our county, and if we need that asset, we'll pull it back. Or those assets, we pull them back. But the Northeast region's there to support us just as we're there to support them.
Questions for Mr. Nichols? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dusty. Any other administrative communications this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. John Bell, Recreation Program Supervisor, Old Prairie Town Beach Park. I would like to mention that this Saturday, June 20th, we will be hosting Wheatstock 11. The event starts at 10 a.m. and will end about 9 p.m. We have 15 different acts set to take the stage that day. They are volunteers. The event is free. We do accept donations, and all the donations go back into the foundation to help with future projects, sound wall, etc. So hopefully you guys can make it out. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Randy Luby, Parks and Recreation. Also Saturday is the 35th annual Topeka Tin-Man Triathlon. It'll be my 30th working the Tin-Man, or being out there. I shouldn't say working it because I just kind of oversee it now a little. But it does start at 7:30 in the morning. It is still considered one of the best triathlons in the Midwest. We get a lot of media coverage from WIBW and CJ Online, and if you're available, you need to get into the park by about 7 o'clock. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Randy.
Good morning, Commission. Herman Jones, Shawnee County Sheriff there. Since everybody's talking about some feel-good, I wanted to come up and just talk about some feel-good as well. Tomorrow morning, 10:30 at the LEC, in a joint, basically ceremonial or reception there, recognition, Shawnee County Sheriff's Office along with Topeka Police Department will receive our certificate for our reaccreditation from CALEA, which is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies there. Mr. Tim Basinger is the North Central Program Manager, will make that presentation. It's going to be a short, so you're invited to come over if you want to. It's going to be, we'll have folks there, media is going to be, I think we're just putting out a news release as well. This will be our fourth certification there for our agency there. And for those that may not be aware that the CALEA is built off of the International Association of Police, PERF, and National Sheriff's Association. It basically is the best standards of practices for law enforcement there. And I believe even our partners there over in Department of Corrections are working for their accreditation as well. So what it does basically, it just shows professionalism of our agencies in this county, of what we do right there. So you're all invited for that right there. Secondly, tomorrow will also be the graduation of our second youth academy. Just a little bit of what we have with that. Probably for the last 10 years, this program has grown, and what it is that we take middle school age students to bring them in and basically sit down and just talk about law enforcement and just build a relationship with our youth right there. We've gone over the last 10 years of that program building up from basically one location of about 15 students to today having two locations. In the first location we had over 60 youth there, and then the location we have of this week is about 50. We do one at Seaman, work great with the school up there. They allow us the room and space and those type of things right there. And then Shawnee Heights is another location. And the way it's going, we have to cap it off simply because of the program, but it seems like it grows and grows and grows. And basically, we're just talking about being good citizens and law enforcement, but we also talk about our other partners that come in. We have PARs come in, talk about safety around their homes. We have the zoo come in, talk about animals. So it's not just law enforcement, but it's the firefighters coming in, showing a full program of those type of things right there. So that's another feel good. And then lastly, along with what we're trying to do, the 26th, we're going to have physical agility and applications that are coming through there. So hopefully we'll have some that we can fill the void with that there. So just want to tag on with some of the feel goods, what's going on with our Shawnee County Sheriff's Office there. Okay?
Thank you very much.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Thank you.
Any other administrative communications this morning? Opportunity for anybody in the public who has anything, questions or comments?
Anybody that's affiliated with TMTA that wants to talk about free rides or anything, this is an opportunity.
Board of Health.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Susan, but hey, I saw you.
So we are thrilled today that we're joining other transits across the nation, and we're celebrating Dump the Pump. Last year, we provided over 5,700 rides on Dump the Pump Day, and that way exceeds our normal by about 2,000. And we want to have 6,000 people ride the bus today. It is a free day, and I've been up since 5, and we've been welcoming people on the bus, and it's been a great experience. I was able to get to a meeting over at Avondale and get back here riding Metro. You can do it. It does work. We're air conditioned. We're nice and cool. You can sleep. You can do this. You can read. You know, what do you need to do? That little check-off list that you're going to do this weekend, you make it on the bus. So take advantage of transit. We're driving down the street. Hop on board. And just remember that kids ride free all summer long. So far, last year we gave 49,000 rides to kids from May 15th to August 15th. Before we started this program, our biggest year with kids was 11,000. So you know what? Kids are riding the bus, and that's a good thing. We're a safe alternative to Wendy showing up in her car that maybe runs or not. But get the babysitter on there, go to the pool, go to the Discovery Center, go eat lunch. Go meet and eat lunch and then go home. But we're proud to be a part of Shawnee County. Also, we were proud to be a part of the Rossville evacuation, Rossville Manor, a couple of weeks ago. And it was our first time to do that. And we learned a lot. We'll be debriefing with the emergency management people. But again, we have a resource here in the community that we should be using in an emergency situation. And I think we've done a good job to hook up with sheriff, police, and other emergency people to know that give us a call, we can be there. It started at 2:45 in the morning with the first call with me. Once we got the particulars, we were there, and we were glad to help out. So that's what we're here to do besides provide rides. So give it a ride today. Give it a try. Get it off your bucket list. So thank you very much for.
Thank you. Commissioner Bueller, administrative communications this morning.
I will be spending Saturday morning with 4-H youth and judging with Ralph Hipp for King and Queen for 4-H fair this year.
I've had the opportunity 2 years, and so I've enjoyed. It's a good process, and you see some great kids that are very active and engaged in the community. So
It'll
good.
be fun.
Commissioner Archer, anything?
I guess I wanted to just personally thank Commissioner Cook for providing the second vote to move forward on the Aquatic Center in the Southwest. It was identified as an underserved area in our master plan, and I'm glad we're going to be moving forward. In my opinion, the aquatic park is going to be a tremendous asset for the whole community, but it's going to be very beneficial for the residents of District 1 and District 3. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your support. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Archer. I might note that we will not have a meeting with the Board of County Commissioners on Monday. We are going to be at the new election center, the yet unnamed elections center, for our Board of County Canvassers for the elections of the USD 437 and 501. So look for us out at the election center on Monday. We'll be joining us back here for a regular meeting on the 25th. And that's all we really have for today. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
I don't think there's a need for an executive session today. We are adjourned. We are to follow this with the Shawnee County Board of Health meeting. If we could take a 15-minute break, if that's okay, get a cup of coffee or whatever we might need to do, and then we'll join us back here starting at 10:40 or 10:45?
10:40 sounds good.
10:40.
Good deal.
So.